It's Tuesday, December 11th, 2012. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, how to not suck at taking your fucking turn. Jesus Christ.
Let's do this.
Was that a good pooping?
Yeah, I guess
We're about to do the show. We literally have recorded the opener, and Scott's like, gotta poop, and just gets up and walks out of the studio.
Okay.
Like, okay. That was the exact moment you had a bowel movement. Not too soon, not too late, but right then.
That's
the moment
right.
I said, it's December 11th, 2012, I'm Rim, you're like, I gotta poop.
Because I just have some power to control exactly when this happens. As I decide, that is when the poop will move.
But if I have a bowel movement, it's often not that urgent.
I mean, this wasn't incredibly urgent, like I was about to poop everywhere. That doesn't happen, But if I would have held that shit in, I would have suffered through the end of the show, which would not have been good.
But if the bowel movement would have been suffering, then perhaps you should have dealt with it at an earlier bowel movement juncture in the day.
That was the early juncture.
Wait,
right
if that was
then.
the earliest earliest manifestation of this, then perhaps I don't know.
I can't hold it for an hour. You want to hold it in for an hour? That's not good for you.
The first time I feel like, hey, gotta poop is not if I hold it in for an hour, I'm not going to feel good. It's, hey, you should poop at some time in the next 24 hours.
You can hold poop in for 24 hours?
It's never that urgent. I poop exactly when I want. I poop on the mount.
It's not healthy to hold in poop.
I don't have to hold it in. I have a feeling that says, hey, Rim, from this point forward, whenever you're ready, you can poop. However, if you wait more than like 6 or 7 hours, I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you it's a little urgent. I'm going to escalate the severity from a Sev 3 to a Sev 2.
That's not how this works.
Sev 2?
I don't know what kind of shape your bowels are in.
Plus, I poop
You
once a
got
day.
some sort of, Panama Canal locking system down there or some shit.
It's never urgent unless there's a problem. And I poop once a day at like 8:45 in the morning.
It's not urgent, but, like peeing. It's like, oh, you feel poop in there suddenly.
Suddenly, it's a slow rise.
No, it's pretty much just like no poop, and yep, poop's in there. And then you go poop it out instead of waiting around.
So anyway, it's gaming day. So you got any news?
I do indeed have news. It is the most amazing news.
Oh, you mean the thing you've been excited about and telling everyone about? Not as excited as Bruce is about Key and Peele.
I don't think anyone can be more excited about anything than he is about that. No, but usually, it is very hard to excite me, especially in a world where I have 10 million video games, 10 million animes.
Well, I guess one
10
bowel
million
movement, you're ready
comic
to
books,
rock.
Right? And there's all these things that are unwatched, unread, unlistened, unseen. Why would I be so excited about a new thing when I've already got so many awesome things that I have not experienced already piled up? That thing would have to be pretty amazing to work its way so high up in the queue. And that thing has happened. So here's the deal. Some dude in Singapore made a fan-made game, but he did a real damn good job. Such a good job that Capcom, the owner of the IP rights to the fan-made game he was making, helped him out, gave him the hooks up. And they have gone so far as to specifically endorse this game and release it for free on their website a week from yesterday, which means next Monday, December 17th.
Wow.
A free PC download for everybody there is at Capcom Unity website. They're releasing the game known as Street Fighter Cross Mega Man, Cross Street Fighter. I don't know which order it goes. It doesn't matter. This game is not what you expect. Like, I was, when I first heard the title, I was like, oh.
I thought it would be a Marvel vs. Capcom
yeah,
fighting
I thought it'd be a
game
fighting game that just had, instead of Marvel characters, just way more Mega Man characters, bringing in Zero, bringing in Mega Man X, bringing in all kinds of people, right? Woodman and, everything. But that is not what it is. It's actually an old school 2D Mega Man game where instead of Robot Masters, you have Guile, Blanca, Ryu, Chun-Li, etc., Dalsim. Oh my God. You see the trailer for this shit, which is what we're going to link you to, and maybe we'll link you to the website that it will eventually be available as a download on.
So I have a suspicion.
And when Mega Man kills Guile, Sonic Boom. When he kills Ryu, Hadouken. Oh my God.
Do I get the 1,000-hand slap? That's all I care about.
I don't know which the 9 guys are. So I don't know all the 9 guys.
So, one thing I can say, I will guess that this game will be not actually Nintendo hard like Mega Man 9 was.
I don't know. Some guy
I think
in
it'll be hard.
Singapore, fan-made game.
I think it'll be hard, but there's a certain special level of Mega Man hard.
Well, I'm actually thinking about, as soon as I beat some of the games on my plate, going to do a Mega Man-a-thon. Mega Man 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then X, 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. I don't know how many X's there are.
I've only beaten like Mega Man 2, 3, 4. I played a lot of them, but I only beat those.
You gotta play Mega Man 5. Mega Man 5 is the shit.
I rented Mega Man 5 from Blockbuster a bunch of times, but I never owned it.
Mega Man 5, well, play it in an emulator and beat Mega Man 5 because it's the Proto Man edition.
No. So I guess Mega Man 3 was my jam. Partly because I liked fucking around with that hold left on controller 2 when the game fucks up code.
Okay.
Okay.
Mega Man is the best.
I'm getting a vibe. This is going to be like a step above the Abobo game that came out a while ago.
No, you look at it. It looks like a real Mega Man game. Watch that trailer. Did you watch the trailer?
I did. It looks really good. But the trailer of Abobo's Big Adventure made it look equally good. And the reality was it was pretty good, but it was also way, way easy.
Well, this has Capcom hands on it. So.
True. Abobo had no one's hands but Abobo's.
That's right.
I could play Abobo again.
Me.
Did you ever beat it?
No.
No? Really? Why not?
Yeah.
What, could you beat it?
I didn't even try.
Wait a minute. It was really easy. How come you haven't beaten it? It's like one playthrough.
Why haven't I played any of the other 100 Steam games I haven't played?
Because Abobo takes less than an hour to beat. Start to finish.
I got a lot of games that take less than an hour to beat. How come
I don't think you can. I think you're having trouble.
Yeah, every day I've been going home trying to beat a Bobo for the past 3 years. Why? Why can't I beat you a Bobo? That's what I've been doing all this time.
We've learned that if we just shorted Nintendo's stock when the Wii U was about to come out, we would have made a lot of money. Nintendo's been not doing so well stock-wise. And I have no intention of buying a Wii U anytime in the next 6 months.
Next 6 million years.
Well, there is a foreseeable chance that I would buy one. That would be
I win the lottery.
If, one,
they're $1.
They made it also interact with the 3DS. 2,
the 3DS you don't have.
I could use 4 of those controllers. 3, they made a new Four Swords, Crystal Chronicles, Pac-Man Verse, Advance Wars.
They'd have to make
Mario Party, Mario Tennis.
They would need more than one of those because just one of those.
No, all of those combined. If all of those things come to pass,
then it would be worth the price.
Then I will buy a Wii U. But if I needed another reason to not buy a Wii U, so luckily this only
you can
affects...
make a really big Bomberman where on your screen you see only the area around you, and on the big screen you can see the whole thing. But it's such a gigantic Bomberman.
Oh my God, the possibilities are endless. But you know what? They were just as endless when the GBA connected to the GameCube.
They were.
And when the DS should have but didn't connect to the Wii.
The only thing the DS ever connected to the Wii for is if you use the Nintendo Store channel the Nintendo channel on the Wii, you could download demos of upcoming DS games to your DS over the air. That was the only DS Wii connection that they've ever done.
It also really took forever, wasn't that good. It didn't really work that well.
Nope.
So, if you needed another reason to really kind of not be happy with Nintendo, the Wii U won't let you look at or purchase anything in their interactive system that is rated 18 plus between the hours of 3 a.m. and 11 p.m. if you are in Europe.
Okay.
Really? That is such an oddly specific,
but how come the Xbox
oddly
and
anachronistic,
PS3
weird regulation rule? I don't understand.
How come none of the other consoles do this?
I also don't understand that. Now, it is true. Europe has really fucked up free speech laws.
Depends on the country.
As a whole, Europe, on average, has much less free speech than the U.S.
Depends on the country.
On average, if you average all countries that are in what we consider Europe, the value of free speech, if you average them all together, is lower than free speech in the U.S.
I guess so.
Also, a lot of the individual countries, like France, has weird laws about what you can show on different kinds of TV at different times.
But at the same time, you can see boobies on TV at certain times.
Yeah.
So in some ways it's less, and in some ways more.
Except at the same time, a lot of the regulations in the U.S. really only actually apply to broadcast TV, which effectively doesn't matter anymore. But
And radio.
and radio. But yet in podcasts, I can say fuck all I want.
Fuck.
And I'm showing movies right now. It's up.
Boobies on the podcast.
Yep. In fact, I'm playing the Dave Zader game.
Apparently, this podcast even has scat.
What? I was about to say, when did Dave Zader ever? And then
You did. You were the one who brought scat onto this podcast. It was you.
Well, I believe that you were the inceptor of that, and I simply brought it out.
I didn't bring it out onto the show.
Well, I hope you brought it out. Otherwise, you failed in your endeavor.
I'm not onto the show. You want me to put it on the show? Here.
But in particular, for example, Germany has a lot of restricted free speech laws, and there appear to be a number of laws and rules in the EU, which, remember, as of a while ago, the European Union, there are European laws now.
Yep.
And there appear to be a lot of European laws.
I don't know how much they're enforced. Like I don't really get it. I haven't looked it up. It seems like a lot of them are regulations on companies like this as opposed to laws that police would enforce.
So this is ridiculous. And this is one of the reasons why, while I am generally a very sort of left-wing / radical techno-progressivist type of person when it comes to politics, I really don't want the UN, the EU, or basically anyone but the United States to maintain the basically complete control of the internet. Because for all the things we've fucked up as a country, the internet is the one thing we have fucked up the least. And relative to everyone else, we're doing a pretty good job. But two, it bothers me that there's this movement in like Australia and Europe, and there is a movement for this in the US, to put restrictions on things to protect children that also affect adults. I am fine with having any like computers, like having operating system things where a user could lock things down for, like a parent could lock things down for their children if they wished. But the moment me as an adult has no ability to interact with that system and or disable it, that is bullshit. There is zero legitimate rationale.
Yeah, it also should not be enabled by default.
Nope.
It should be something you have to turn on, right? Because it's like kids can't really buy things, so you don't really have to worry about a kid buying a Wii and going hee 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 hee, because a kid can't buy things.
Yeah.
So it should be disabled by default, and then the adult who purchased it would enable it.
Enable it, and then the kid immediately hacks it, but then the kid deserves it anyway, so it's fine. But this is so anachronistic. Do they really think, whoever made this happen, do you really think that if you can't buy these games between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., that one, kids aren't going to buy them, and that two, no one's going to have a problem with this?
That kids are asleep at those hours.
Yeah, I was never asleep at those hours.
Well, I mean, first of all, right, it's like, you've got, if you think of all the different categories of responsible parents, responsible children, good, bad, everywhere in between on the gray scale, right? Kids who are more responsible, who are staying up late because their parents trust them and they're good kids.
I'd sit down till the sun came up playing like Civ or Quake 1 or Doom.
It's not, they're going to have access to these games, but it won't really matter because it's just fine if they do. Kids who are sort of in the middle, right? Their parents make them go to bed. Maybe they're irresponsible.
Yeah, the hardware controls don't matter because the good parent with the troublesome kid, or the kid who can't, shouldn't, the kid who's 15, but, some people just can't deal with games like this when they're 15. A good parent, the kid will listen to them and won't do what they're not supposed to do, or they'll get caught if they try to do it.
Right, and then you have just the irresponsible parents. It's like, well, those kids are going to be up all night because the parents are irresponsible, so it doesn't matter.
But this is more of a Thursday thing, but in the meta, in the general, I do not like it. I'm fine with regulations, laws, everything to help protect kids and to help parents and all those things.
Depends on the specific thing.
Yeah, but philosophically, I have no problem with it.
Don't like the safe playground action.
Not at all, but philosophically...
But then again, playground should not be a bed of spikes and fire. All that'd be pretty cool.
Philosophically, I have no problem with the idea of something like this being debated. My problem is when I, as an adult, have to deal with this stuff when I don't have a kid.
We don't live in Europe.
Nah, but if I live in Europe, or if I go to Europe on a business trip and I have a Wii U and I want to buy Assassin's Creed at 11:05 p.m., I can't, and that's bullshit.
You mean 11:05 a.m.?
No, 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. is the only time you can do this.
Yeah, you said if you want to buy it at 11 p.m. and you can't.
I said 11:05 p.m. I can't.
What? Oh, wait a minute. No, 11:05 p.m. would be late at night when you could.
Oh yeah, I guess I could.
You're backwards.
See
Like
what happens? You have confusing bullshit, arbitrary regulations.
I was right the whole time.
But also Nintendo. How come no one else does this stuff?
Nintendo always does extra shit for some stupid reason.
I mean, Steam doesn't prevent me from buying a game at 11.
This is why most of the world is PC gaming, except for the US,
Yeah.
where people are too dumb to plug a PC into the TV.
I just thought this was kind of amazing, so I wanted to shed light on this sort of ridiculous story.
Yeah, anyway.
But anyway, things of the day. So we were at an epic party at our friend's house over the weekend near Philly, and well, the YouTube party happened for a while downstairs.
I was not invited to that YouTube party.
No, you're busy doing other stuff. We also had the look at old pictures of Rim and Scott and the Front Row Crew from like a decade ago.
I was at that party.
And we had the Let's Play Zendo with Strangers party, which was actually really good. I can't believe that one of our friends used the Zendo rule of something involving prime numbers of pips.
The one you're not supposed to use.
And yet they got it, but I think they only got it because I always use that as the example of a bullshit rule you shouldn't use.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we also have a lot of friends who are getting really good at Zendo and we gotta start upping the ante. So, we watched this series of short animated videos, little shorts, about StarCraft. It is called StarCrafts. It's just adorable. It's little Zerglings and Protoss dudes running around with sound effects from the game being cute. And they're super short, and you should just watch all of these. They're by Carbot Animations, and they're ridiculously adorable.
This is funnier to me because I've recently actually beaten the StarCraft 2 campaign.
I'm thinking about starting to play the StarCraft 2 campaign in the next 6 months and getting it into the queue.
Mm-hmm. All right.
You got a thing of the day?
I do.
Huh?
So, you know the board game Le Havre, which you've only played a couple times?
Yeah, because it's okay, not great.
It's a good game. These people, they're big board game nerds. They went to Le Havre. I would like to go there. And what they did is they took the cards from the game and they went to all the places that are on the cards and took a picture with the card at the place. And here's a little Imgur photo gallery of them holding up the cards from the places in front of the places.
That's adorable.
That is pretty good. I'm trying to think of like what else can we do this with?
Puerto Rico?
What Puerto Rico doesn't have a deck of cards really with pictures
It
of
has
places.
the buildings. You go find buildings that do those things, then plantations.
I don't think you're gonna find all those plantations. Do you find an indigo plantation?
There's probably still, I'll bet there is still indigo planting in Puerto Rico.
You're gonna find an indigo factory, a large indigo plant, and a small indigo plant. You're gonna find both of them.
All right, fine. Let's do Eclipse.
You're gonna find a sugar mill.
How about Eclipse?
I'm up for that if you can make it out there.
We could do it with El Grande, go to all those regions of Spain.
Yeah, but those aren't on individual cards.
Yeah, you just go and take a picture of a caballero in front of a Castile in each place.
Yeah, we're better off doing it with the D&D Monster Manual and doing it with
All the monsters that actually exist.
No.
Like Rat.
Like fantasy movies and TV shows, we find one instance of everything in fantasy movies and TV shows and basically take the monster manual and replace the art with a picture from the movie or TV show.
We might be able to pull it off with Genoa.
It doesn't also have cards with places or anything.
Power
like
grid, just go find power plants of each type.
You're
Anyway,
really stretching it here.
in the meta moment, holy shit, we launched an entirely new show called Geeknights Presents.
Did we?
Yes.
Why?
Because we're stupid and we committed to like 40 plus episodes of this bullshit, and so far each one's taken us it's like a half hour long. So
Too long.
and they're only gonna get longer because I was thinking about what
Why don't
happens.
you edit them down, genius?
That is edited down.
No.
So what we're doing, Geek
Edit it
Nights
down
Presents,
more.
is a new show,
Because we pretty much repeat the same thing over and over again, so you can edit down so we only say it once.
a YouTube show where we take a media and we present it to you in a sort of final thoughts format. So, for example, we're starting. We did Radio Free Equestria as kind of like a test to get good at this kind of stuff. And we're going to keep doing Radio Free Equestria, don't worry. I got a huge backlog of episodes I just have to upload.
And luckily, the new episode, which we have not RFE'd yet, had a lot of material when it should have had none.
I know. Apparently, the pony named Luna spies on kids' dreams in their sleep.
That gives us something to talk about.
Kind of creepy.
Whereas being scared in the woods gives us
Hey there,
nothing.
Scootaloo.
Although we could talk about the
What you doing?
haunted stories, like what's up with the headless horse and the rusty horseshoe.
Also, the fact that there's rainbow waterfalls, so I guess they could harvest rainbows in the old days, and later they made machines to make them. That's natural rainbow. That'd be like hydroelectric rainbow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We gotta check.
So we're taking that and doing the same thing to an anime called Shoujo Kakamei Utena because it's incredibly complex, full of allegory, lots to analyze,
A lot of shit that's just
red herrings.
Yeah, red herrings.
But also little bits, like there's things dudes say in episode 1 that in episode 38 you go, oh, fuck.
But you don't remember. But then if you watch episode 1 immediately after watching the final episode, you go, fuck.
So if and when we finish this, or if we get it on long enough to where we can support doing multiple shows, Geeknights Presents is going to be a show where we take things and we don't just review them. You know, we don't just preview them. We don't just talk about our experiences with them. We finish them. Because really, we only have done this for anime up to this point. So we're trying to do, and I guess our book club. So we're trying to do this for other kinds of things. In other meta news, MagFest.
Oh, it's real close now.
MagFest.
I bought Bolt Bus tickets.
MagFest. I also bought.
It's on.
I got.
It is on so hard.
I've got the second seat reserved on our bus to MagFest.
I got the first seat reserved.
Yeah.
A1.
A2.
A1.
Granted, some motherfucker already booked return trips. I'm like A5 on the way back.
Yeah, me too. Oh well.
Or A6 or whatever.
Doesn't matter. We're going. It's set in stone.
What? It's coming.
I think we're gonna have.
We are doing a lecture, Beyond Candyland, rewritten, revised. Scott, we got to rewrite and revise that. We are going to be on 2 panel discussions.
I'm putting it on my to-do list right now.
We're going to be on ethics in video games, and we're going to be on video games genres. If those have not been announced publicly yet, well, fuck you guys. It's already all set.
It's MagFest.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. MagFest is one of the only conventions you can just totally hang out with us because we have very few obligations to the con.
All right. Sunday, I put it on my to-do list.
It's coming.
Also, I
PAX
guess
Australia, we're going to be there. PAX East,
That's a
we're going to be
long
there.
time
PAX
from
Prime,
now.
we're going to be there.
it's a long time from now.
Anime Boston, we're going to be there. Panel submissions for Anime Boston end soon. So if you want to submit a panel, and I know he needs panels, submit your fucking panels.
They have to be anime.
Yeah.
Kineticon.
They have to
It's
be
the
anime.
week before PAX Australia.
Kineticon panel submissions will be opening as soon as the people I have no control over turn it on. And
That's pretty much all the conventions for the whole next year.
But here's the deal. Kineticon panel submissions are going to open soonish, and we're going to start scheduling shit in January. So don't wait like you did in the past.
Okay.
If you submit like April, we're probably already filled in all the good slots with good panels. We're really stepping up the game. If you thought we stepped up the game in Kineticon last year, we're going to step up that
This is
far
so
again.
far from now. Let's keep the meta moment to things happening soon, like MagFest.
All right, the book club book is The Great Gatsby.
Oh, it is.
Scott has irregular bowel movements.
I don't.
Did you poop at this time yesterday?
I don't remember.
Then you do not have regular bowel movements. You've never had to poop during a Geek Nights recording before.
You got home early? I don't know.
No, I did. It's only 6:45.
It's supposed to happen at the exact same time every day?
Within a span of an hour or two. Do you always poop right after Geek Nights or right before it in my bathroom? Maybe that's why I always run out of toilet paper. You're using it all up every day before the show.
It's because you use half a roll every time you poop.
I have a clean sphincter.
I also have a clean sphincter.
Apparently not. If you don't use, well, apparently you're using all my toilet paper and blaming it on me and the
My
dog.
sphincter is clean, and your roll was almost empty, and it is still not 100% empty. And my sphincter is clean.
That roll was almost full before.
It was almost empty when I went in there.
So,
Do I need to take a picture of the roll every time I poop before and after?
Scott and I have a problem. That'd be a good Tumblr. Scott and I have a really big problem.
Also, you should check us out on all the places on the internet. But,
Oh yeah, G+, Twitter, Google Communities.
the Facebook page currently, I think the thing that automatically posts our stuff to the Facebook page is broken. And
doesn't matter because Facebook doesn't reliably send your updates to your friends anyway.
Yeah, but I'm gonna fix it anyway. When I get a chance. Soon.
Just don't forget, it's likely you're not getting all of our stuff if you only follow us on Facebook.
Well, it's 100% likely because it's not automatically posting there right now.
But even once we get it posting there again, you're still not gonna get everything.
Maybe.
due to the way Facebook works with organizations like us.
It's possible.
And their attempts at monetization.
Yep.
So, problem Scott and I have. We've had this problem for
Ever.
11 years,
Our whole lives.
give or take. No,
30
because
years.
there was a time at RIT when we really only played board games inside of our own group. And other than if we played Acquire with Scott Johnson, this was never a problem. But then we broadened our horizons and decided we would bring our board gaming goodness to the world. We started playing board games with people we weren't already friends and family with. And I learned something. I had a peripetia, a horrible realization, when I sat down to play Settlers of Catan, and what should have taken 45 minutes took 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It was in, I think, 2003, and I was playing Settlers of Catan at RWAG with 3 people who I didn't know super well and had not played board games with before. And I realized at that moment that pretty much everyone else in the fucking world except me and Scott just never takes their turn.
Yep.
There are exceptions. Those exceptions are mostly our own friends. So all you FRC types and family that we play with, we're not talking about most of you.
Yep. Well, there's a lot of reasons for taking a turn slowly, but there's only one way to take a turn quickly.
Be smart.
Yep.
So, you might remember a long time ago, we had a series on Geeknights called How to Not Suck.
Man, where did that happen to that?
So we're bringing it back. We're not going to complain in this
Yeah, we
episode.
are. We're going to complain about all the slow people constantly and say how stupid they are.
In this episode, we're basically going to tell you if you are or think you are one of those people who plays a board game and you're taking too long on your turn and other people are getting annoyed at you.
You are. Odds are.
Or you play games with other people who are doing this and it's frustrating you and you want to learn how to deal with them. Or you want to get into the air hockey situation, the air hockey conundrum. If you follow all of our advice and you're not having a problem, suddenly you'll start taking your turn in a tenth the time you normally spend. And now you're going to hate all the rest of your friends, but you'll win a lot more games.
Mm-hmm.
So, how to not suck at taking your motherfucking turn. We're just talking about board games.
All right.
Though these concepts can apply generally to other types of games.
All right, so the first thing you got to do, right, which is true in general for not sucking at board games,
Turn the
period,
page,
No,
and then you wash your hands.
is know the fucking rules. A lot of people take so long in their turn because they're not sure what the fuck they're supposed to be doing.
Now, let's assume you're learning the game, you don't know the rules that well. That's fine. You can still take your turn quickly. The way to do that is if you're confused about a rule on your turn, what normal people do, most people I've seen, is they sit there going, like they're thinking, like,
Or ask to see the rules and start reading them.
Yep. So they'll be like, hey, can I see the rules for a second? They just sit there going,
Why don't you just fucking ask?
Or they don't even ask for the rules. They go, And then after 5 minutes of, they look up and say, hey, Rim, what are victory points again? That's why I flip the fucking table over and go home.
Yeah.
Ask immediately. And if you have to ask the same question every round, you probably shouldn't be playing this game. You need to go home and read the rules because you obviously didn't pay attention when it was taught to you, nor when everyone answered your question 10 times.
Maybe you should go home and play Candyland and work your way up to whatever game.
But the moral here, if you are confused about a point in the rules during the game, ask immediately. And if asking the question is going to compromise your position in the game,
that's your penalty for not knowing the rules.
Yes, you will have a more fruitful experience by learning the rules by asking the question. If you're really worried about it, pick someone else at the table and say, hey, can I ask you a question? Show them the card you don't understand.
Or maybe
like,
find someone who's not actually playing the game but knows the rules and ask them. Right? If it's like a card in your hand you want to ask about, maybe there's someone around who knows how the game works, and you can you show them your card, and you won't have to show anyone else at the table who's actually playing your card. Right? The second thing you got to do is the most important. While you're playing the game, pay fucking attention to the game the whole time you're playing the game.
Now,
A lot of people that sit down to play a game, and what do? They're getting up, they're looking around, walking around, peeing, drinking, talking about something that's not the game, not seeing what other people doing during the turns. Now, there are some games where you don't have to pay attention during other people's turns. Say Alhambra, right?
yeah, for Alhambra,
It doesn't matter what the fuck other people do on their turns. When it comes to your turn,
Well, there is a 5th or 6th order strategy and process you can do to have a slight advantage in Alhambra by counting the cards people take up. But you really don't need to do that.
Yeah, there's nothing to do during other people's turns, so you can just wait till your turn, then decide very quickly because there isn't much to decide. But in most games, you should pay attention what's happening during other people's turns, like in Puerto Rico or
now,
something.
many of you who have played games with other
or
cons
T&E especially
might already be saying, but Rim, you get up all the time and dick around with people. And yeah, because I already know what I'm going to do in my turn. The master doesn't need to pay attention.
I will not, it's do as I say, don't do as I do, right? I will not get up or take my attention off of a game except in the case where I already know what I'm going to do on my turn, and my turn is going to take a very small amount of time, but it is not yet my turn. Unless I am in that situation where my next turn was already planned and will be swift, I am paying attention to the game and calculating the next turn. As soon as my turn ends, I immediately begin calculating the next turn. And this is point number 3, right? Parallel processing. While other people are playing, you don't get up and leave like at Alhambra. You pay the fuck attention and you think about what you're going to do on your turn during other people's turns. You don't stop playing the game at any moment, right?
Unless you can make no more meaningful decisions, or
you are waiting for new information to be able to figure out what to do during your turn, in which case, sit there and wait for that new information to appear, which is why we get very frustrated when your turn takes so long, because we're waiting for you to reveal the information we need to complete our calculations.
Now, we talk about processing in parallel. Well, let's say you do that, but even then, there are some games where you can iterate and step through. Like Acquire is a game, you can basically calculate the perfect move, but it takes a while, unless you're reasonably good at math and pattern recognition. But you need to, as a player, and this is where these get more complicated, recognize, very simply, don't worry about all this other stuff, recognize when a decision you are about to make is arbitrary. Now, this is already everything. The next several
high-level
steps,
technique.
The next several steps that we're going to talk about are things you can do that are all under the sort of meta category of be better at games. If you are better at games, generally, you don't have to be better at a specific game, just better at games in generally. Learn, master basic skills. Then you can do all these things.
Yeah, it's like there are some things you can do to speed up your turn that you don't need to be good at games to do, like the things we've already mentioned, paying attention and things like that. And if you don't do those things, then there's a fucking problem. There's another set of things where you need to have a low level of game skills. You need to have some amount of skills to do them. And it's not necessarily a big fucking problem if you don't do those. It's just slightly annoying. Then there are things where you can take your turn crazy fast if you're a master. No one's expecting that from you if you're not a master, but you should still strive for it. Otherwise, why are you here?
Yeah, like in T&E, I'll just be like, ba-bam, 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 ba-bam. But I've played T&E like 100 times.
It's also okay if a few turns during the game are slow and the rest are fast. When I play a game like T&E, most of my turns will be relatively quick, but maybe 2 or 3 times during the game, there'll be a tough situation where even after it gets around to my turn, I don't know what to do. Or something particularly devastating happens right before my turn, and then I go, oh, fuck, and then I need to really figure it out.
So, this is the kind of an aside. If you want to get better at games, watch people who are good at a game play and pay attention to when they take a long time on their turn and when they don't. Because if I'm playing a game that I know and I'm taking my turns like that and suddenly I take a long time on my turn, if you can figure out why suddenly I'm thinking really hard, you're going to start to figure out the game. Because aspect 4, recognize arbitrary decisions, is such low-hanging fruit that so many people I play games with just can't grasp. There are many decisions in games that are effectively arbitrary. Either it doesn't matter what choice you make because it actually doesn't matter, or it doesn't matter because you lack the ability to calculate how much it matters to a degree that will actually affect the game.
For example, if you sit there and you're playing rock, paper, scissors, and you sit there thinking, he chose rock last time, he's not going to choose rock again, is he? Or maybe he will. Oh, maybe he won't. Inconceivable, right? Then you are stupid. You should know that it's arbitrary which one you pick. Just fucking pick one randomly as possible.
Yes.
Right? Do not use any psychology or any chain of logic. If you can, use all 3 at once. Right? That way you can't lose. You'll win 2 out of 3 times.
Now, at the same time, there might be 2 options where, option A is
1.5 times.
trade a good to get money, and option B is trade a good to get victory points. And maybe you're not, like, you don't know. So you could try to figure it out. But if you have no direction to go on and you're trying to calculate it, but you don't understand what you're calculating, you'll think that you're working hard to win the game. But really, your brain just going in circles, and you're not, like, you're adding numbers up and you're not going anywhere.
There are also some decisions that...
So the decision is effectively arbitrary because while it could be calculated, you lack the capacity. As soon as you recognize that you will not be able to come to the mathematical conclusion you're trying to get to in your brain in a reasonable span of time, you need to cut your losses, pretend it's an arbitrary decision instead, let the game go on, and instead do a post hoc process of, at the end of the game, think back, that time I couldn't figure it out. Now that I've seen the end of the game, what should I have done?
For example, in a game of Puerto Rico, right? There are certain things where I don't decide, I just go with it. For example, let's say it's the first time the captain comes out, and all the boats are empty, and I pick the captain, and I got 3 corn. Do I go in the small boat, the medium boat, or the big boat?
Now, you could iterate through.
It's possible to look at everyone's barrels and fucking figure it out. You know what I do? I just fucking pick a boat. I don't give a shit. That matters so little.
Now here's the thing. That could
It
matter.
might end up mattering, but the time it would take to figure it out versus how much it would benefit me in the game, I don't bother. Even though I really want to win, it's a skill-based game, I'm very good at it, I don't bother thinking about that when I just put my stuff on whatever boat I feel like.
Now, while the iterative calculation of that is basically impossible or useless, because either you're going to be in a tournament where there's going to be some sort of time limit, or you're playing with friends where there's the punching time limit.
I mean, there could be something obvious. For example, let's say I have 4 corn and the person next to me has 4 corn. I'm going to put my 4 corn on the 6 size boat to prevent them from... but that's so easy to see. I can see that immediately. So what I do is I look around really quickly, and it takes me about 3 seconds to figure that one out. And if I don't see any of those types of situations, then I just pick any fucking boat. Doesn't matter.
Now this leads into item 6. I'm gonna take a term. We had other terms for this, but I'm committed to using the terms in that Garfield book from now on.
Okay.
The characteristics of games. Develop directional heuristics. What that means is look at Scott's situation. So which boat do I put it on? The decision is effectively arbitrary because I lack the ability to compute reasonably all the possible outcomes into the future with odds that will actually have a chance of affecting
I have
the game.
no idea what barrels... if I bother to think about what barrels people could possibly have for the next captain...
Let alone 2 or 3 captains down the road.
Yeah, fuck that.
So
Fuck
instead,
that.
I play the game a lot, and like I said before, if there's a decision that appears like it is not actually arbitrary, but it is effectively arbitrary for you because you can't figure it out, you have to put like a mental bookmark next to that, and every time you have to think back every round until it becomes apparent what you should have done. Eventually, you'll have this sort of soft skill, this directional heuristic. Directional meaning you can recognize a pattern where, if the board looks like this, I should move in this direction.
Yeah, a directional heuristic is basically the method you use to decide what to do on your turn. Here's a perfect example of one of my favorite directional heuristics, right? The way I play Power Grid. How much do I bid on a power plant that I want in Power Grid? And this is a very simple calculation I make. What I do is I look at how much the resources I'm going to have to pay to get the resources I want from the market that turn. I estimate that, and I take that money and set it aside. Then I look at how many houses I want to buy that turn based on the total amount of power I'll be able to make. How many will I be able to get houses up to that number? How much will it cost me, right? This round, I estimate, and I remove that amount of money from my hand. And then I look at how much money's left, and that's the maximum amount of money that I will spend on buying a power plant this turn. And that is my directional heuristic, the method I use to make a decision. The decision I need to make is how much am I willing to bid on the power plant? And there's a method to making that decision. Subtract the resource money, subtract the house money, count the leftover money. All right? So these are directional heuristics, and you have to develop these in particular games. You look at the decisions you have to make in a particular game and then figure out what will be the method I use to make that decision. And then once you have that method, every time it gets to your turn, anytime you have to make that decision, use the method, use it as soon as you have enough information to use it, then you have your decision.
Now, some of these are calculated.
Yep.
Some of them are crutches in calculation. Like, I'm trying to think of a really good so in Tigris and Euphrates, I have a really simple heuristic of when I will attack someone else. I have all these other conditionals I can't really get into.
Want to have a +3 advantage or more?
As to if I will, if I get to the point of will I attack someone. But yes, once I have reached a decision tree of will I attack this person or not, it comes down to something so simple as, do I have a 3 advantage or not? If the answer is yes, I attack no matter what.
Well, I won't attack if winning won't get me a significant number of points.
No, because the disruption is fine too. So
right, but
Scott,
I'm not going to hurry up the end of the game if I'm behind.
No,
if I'm
Scott,
only
you
get
missed what I said. I have all these other ones that get me to the point of if attacking is even an option. If attacking is an option, so attacking is only an option for me if, 1, it is not likely to give a player who has a chance of beating me points in a color that I know they are deficient in. If it is likely to give me points in a color that I am deficient in. All the obverse cases of that are also there. I don't care. I'm not likely to attack or get to the point of deciding to attack if I don't need that color unless it causes disruption to a player who is likely to beat me. The treasure situation, all these other factors. There's so many of them that I could probably enumerate them all. But I've played the game so much that it becomes little more than patterns to where, and you'll notice this if you play a lot of games. Sometimes I'm calculating in Power Grid. I have a gut feeling for what I should do, and then I do a calculation to validate, will I have enough money to do the thing that my gut heuristic tells me to do? If the answer is yes, I just do it. If the answer is no, then I fall back on these more complex heuristics to figure out what I should do because my gut heuristic obviously was mistaken.
Now, if you don't have a heuristic, either because you're new at a game or you're not sure, right? What you should try to do usually to come up with a heuristic, right, is what will get you the most victory points. Most games are victory point games. And if it's not a victory point game, you got to think, what will help you win, right? So find the thing that makes you win, whatever that may be, most money, most points, get to the end the fastest, and look at your options. And can you immediately tell which one of those will get you the most victory, the closest to winning? If you can't tell, just fucking pick one because you'll be able to tell after playing the game more, right? Don't sit around and try. If you can't immediately tell right away, don't bother, right? Then think about it during other people's turns, which one. That way you're not wasting everyone's time, trying to cram in multiple sessions of game learning into your first playthrough.
Now, say you can't figure it out at all, you have nowhere to go. It doesn't matter. If you're acting randomly and you lose, you're just doing the best you can. The key there is pattern recognition. You start to notice, hey, Rim always goes into the castle in Kalis and he seems to win a lot. Oh, look, Rim and Scott and all those guys seem to castle all the time. I should probably be doing that too.
Yep. See, now, here's the thing. In a lot of games, doing what someone else is doing just brings you both down because you're fighting over a shared resource, and this other player who's not fighting over that same resource and is doing something different will win. But that's okay, because if you're a noob and, you can't already play this game quickly and make your decisions quickly, you don't have your directional heuristic set up, right? Better to copy someone else to learn and get the feel for what they're doing, because you'll do a lot better than just doing whatever you feel like that's wrong, and you'll just be in the shitter, and then they will be fighting for supremacy.
Now,
you will at least make a good placement and feel better about yourself and learn some of the patterns of movement by copying someone.
Now, in a super, super generalized case, if you go before someone else in whatever sense that entails, you are better off copying that person than copying a person who goes before you, whatever that entails.
If there is a game with some sort of turn sequence, right, you want to do the same thing as someone who goes after you. That, for example, let's say Power Grid, and you're going in with coal power plants, right? Well, you want to buy your coal before the other guy who buys coal. If you have to buy coal second, and some other guy who likes coal is going before you, don't do coal, do oil or something else, because it's going to be worse for you if he steals all the coal out from under you.
So, back to more, non-game theory-ish sort of skills. Point 9, learn how to shuffle cards.
Holy shit. Yeah, there's so many mechanical things you have to do in a game. Shuffling cards, rolling dice.
You need if you're serious about playing
counting
games,
moving a space, addition and subtraction, moving a pawn on the correct number of spaces in one jump and not sitting there going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, unless it's a joke just to piss people off.
I mean, if
right?
like in Carcassonne, if I get a bunch of points in one go, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But that's just trash talk. That's not slow play.
Yeah, I don't need to do that to
Right.
calculate 17 plus 4.
Counting your money quickly, handling bills and coins quickly and
Making
adeptly.
change.
Yeah, if you're playing poker, the ability to just be able to count the chips quickly and send them out into the table instead of sitting there being like 1, 2, right? Those sorts of things really bother everyone because you've already made a decision. You know what you're gonna do, right? You just can't shuffle your cards and everyone is sitting there waiting for you.
Now, you think this might be obvious, but no, I see people who literally not only can't shuffle cards, but never get better at it. They just like throw all their Dominion cards in a pile and it go whoosh, 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 woosh, 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 whoosh, whoosh, whoosh on the table.
That is
It takes
not
forever.
tournament acceptable.
You at least need to know a proper card shuffle or the like drop shuffle.
And if you don't know how to do some sort of card shuffling,
YouTube.
go to YouTube, watch videos of people doing it, go to the drugstore, buy a deck of bicycle cards, right? A real card deck, not a cheap ass one that's not nicely coated, a nice smooth one. Open it up and freaking watch that video and keep doing it over and over until you can fucking do it. And don't give me that small hand, big hand bullshit, right? I could shuffle cards when I was 3 years old and I can still shuffle cards. All right? My grandpa showed me. I just watched what he was doing and copied it until I could do it. So
I
do
once
the same
played-
thing. If you need YouTube grandpa, then do
I
it.
once played in a Magic tournament with a 300 card deck. Mostly as a joke because the kids I played with were
Netrunner says
scrubs.
there's no deck limit, but you must have a deck that can be shuffled in a reasonable amount of time.
So I won. I didn't win the tournament, but I got to the finals because everyone around me was scrubs. And that was basically trash talk the deck. Because kids would sit down, they'd look at this deck and they'd be like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, it's got 5 colors, bitches.
You couldn't play anything for like the first 10 turns. You're lucky no one tried to set you on fire.
Just they weren't good at the game. And it was actually only 3 colors and had a fuck ton of artifacts.
Yeah.
Because none of them had, it's like
The Magic tournament I played in when I was a kid, people knew what the fuck they were doing except me.
Yeah, I was in one tournament where I lost due to poison. I was
Anyway.
really not happy. So similar to this, learn a gaming lexicon because most board games are very similar. If someone says there's going to be a card draft, you should know what that means. Like, it's one thing if I'm going to teach someone how to play a board game and I tell them, all right, so we start with a card draft. It works like this. Let's go. Versus explaining what a card draft is. Also, if I have to explain what the card draft is in a fundamental level, then the people at the table seem to not understand it, even if I go through the mechanical stuff, because now they're not just learning the game, they're learning all these other pieces. It's like if you have to learn how auctions work because you've never heard of an auction before. Now you're gonna
can't play a bidding game because you've never heard of an auction before.
Yeah, you're learning the auction game before you even get to the power grid part of power grid.
Yeah.
So you've
What's
got
an
to learn.
auction? Oh, fuck. An auction is only one small part of this game. We are fucked.
You've got to learn a basic gaming lexicon or you're going to take forever on your goddamn turn. Honestly, if you do all those things, your turns are going to be like that.
Yeah, I mean, really, the biggest one is when it's someone else's turn, think about what you're going to do on your turn. And then if you're still paying attention, you'll be alert. I fail this sometimes. You'll be alert when your turn begins. And as soon as your turn begins, immediately start executing your turn. And then as soon as your turn ends, make sure the next person starts their turn. And hopefully they will be alert and just start taking their turn.
And if you can't figure out what to do and everyone's already groaning, give up. There's no way you're going to figure it out. Act randomly based on the simplest directional heuristic you can and go for it.
Is there anything else to say about taking your goddamn turn?
I think we've covered, if you do those 10 things.
You counted all the things?
We came up with them arbitrarily as we were talking, but there ended up being 10.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, I guess there's one side discussion. How do you deal with, if you're not me and Scott, who are just perfectly willing to be assholes to people, and you're playing a friendly game with someone who won't take their turn? How do you get them to take their turn?
Well, you can say, listen, can you hurry it up? Like, you can get a stopwatch and show them how long their turn is taking.
Yeah.
You can just get up and ignore the game if you've already decided your turn, because you got so much extra time to decide, right? That's another thing you got to think about, right? You might be thinking, oh, I'll win by taking a long time on my turn so I get the right decision.
That is never the case.
What you're really doing is you're giving everyone else so much more time to think about their turns.
Yeah, so in Power Grid...
You want to take your turn faster to hurt the other players. So they have less time to think.
In Power Grid, I have heuristics, but if you take 5 minutes on your turn, I'm going to count every fucking electro.
Yep.
I'm going to count out, like, exact actions and exact numbers of dollars. You'll see if I play a game of Power Grid with people who are slow, you'll see me like lining up multiple turns of bullshit in front of me. I'll be like making stacks of bills counted out for exact sequences of events.
Because unlike some other people who get distracted and go look at something else while the game is going on, like some TV or some conversation, if you give me more goddamn time, I'm gonna think about the next turn and the next turn and the next turn. You're only fucking yourself over. You're better off. The only way you're gonna have a chance is if you play your turn quickly. It might not be the best possible decision, but it'll be, good enough maybe, and you won't give me time to make the ultimate best humanly possible decision in the universe because I waited 5 whole minutes for you to do your turn.
Now, the reality is that if you're taking a long time on your turn, your friends are taking long times on their turns, I hate to say it basically just means...
It's going to make the game unfun if everyone's slow. That's why people hate like Monopoly and
But it
Risk and
also
shit.
means that you and your friends are all collectively not that good at games. Now...
Play easier games until you get faster.
Now, if you get better at these things and you find that, like, if say you follow our advice and you start taking your turns faster, you're going to find that you start winning a lot more often. And you're going to get into the boat.
Yeah, you ever see the guy who takes slow on his turn be the guy?
Well, except Scott Johnson in a choir.
Right, but okay. The other thing to think about, right, is, exactly that. The analysis paralysis. Sometimes it could be the game's fault that people are taking a long time.
Those games suck, and I don't play them anymore.
Now, because the game is constructed in such a way that, like chess, people take a long time on their turn if there's no chess clocks.
But look, there's chess clocks to deal with that.
But sometimes there aren't chess clocks, and people take forever, and because that gives them an advantage, right? What you need to do is just not play those games or bring in the chess clock, right? And I think adding a timer to games, even if it's not part of the rules, is perfectly okay in a situation of an analysis paralysis game. If it's the game's fault that taking, there's this long, time to take your turn, it won't hurt the game to throw a timer in there. And it's pretty easy to come up with a rule for the timer, such as, when the timer is up, you must make a move or you lose. Just if you can't think of any other rule, like some sort of penalty that doesn't fuck the game up, just say you lose, game over, because someone took too long.
Say you start taking your turns faster and none of your friends do, and you start finding that it's not fun to play games with your friends anymore. I hate to say this, it means your friends are scrubs.
Yeah.
In that sense, this word is...
The air hockey problem.
The term scrubs has been thrown around a lot. I'll try to find the article, but if I can't find it, then I'm not going to link to it, obviously. But I read an article where a guy came up with a really good definition of scrub, because I'd use the word forever, but this guy has a good definition. It's someone who plays games a lot, but after a certain point, basically never invests to get better than that point, while simultaneously denigrating the skills it takes to get beyond that point. It's the Street Fighter guy who says you using, Flowchart Ken is cheap. Or the StarCraft guy who's like, oh, you're just APMing it up and microing me. Like, yeah, that's how you're good at StarCraft.
Yeah, see, I say, yeah, you're beating me with your APMs. Exactly. That's why you're better than me. I just do not feel like doing that.
Yep, I don't call it cheap, but if you
it's not cheap, it's hard as hell.
If you move
cheap
beyond,
is when something's easy to do and wins.
If you move beyond being a scrub to getting better at games and you take turns faster, you will find that you just can't play games with scrubs anymore. And you know what? It's fucking awesome. You realize when we want to play a board game, we sit down, 45 minutes later, we're done with the game of Puerto Rico, start to finish.
We can play a lot of goddamn games. It's so much more fun because you can learn new games quickly. You can play existing games you already know much faster.
Dude, Modern Art takes maybe 40 minutes.
Maybe. And Modern Art's a good example, right? One technique to use, we talk about the auction thing.
Oh, wait, I'll run my auction. All right, do I hear $1? Going once, going twice, 3 times, 2? All right, I bid 3. Going once, going twice,
4,
going 3, 5, going once,
7,
going 8, going once,
10.
going twice. See how I'm forcing Scott to immediately jump on.
Yep. But no, if someone's having trouble in a complex game where there's a lot of different things, play a game that only has one of those things, right? If people are having trouble with a card draft at the beginning of seasons, just play Seven Wonders instead. So that then, once they got the hang of that, then you can move up. You know, if someone's having trouble in auctions and Power Grid, play Modern Art so they can just deal with auctions only. If people don't, you know, there's this progression of, you know, learning curve that people have to go through. And it's, you know, video games often, since, you know, especially long ones, have this learning curve built in where they'll teach you one skill at a time. They'll have a level where all you do is jump, then in the next level you jump and shoot, right? Jump and shoot.
Jump and shoot, man. Jump and shoot, man.
Yeah. And then in the next level you slide, and the next level you change weapons, and the next level you fly, right? If you can't do that with a board game, you play a board game, you got to play the whole thing at once. It's not like turn 1 is easy turn and turn, right? Very few games are like that.
In fact, if you want to get back to the Garfield book, the term he uses for this called bushiness, which is a really nice
I thought
word.
bushiness was how much
No. What I'm getting at is that bushiness is basically the number of sort of directions or decisions you could make. The first turns of games tend to be the most important and most difficult. And the decisions actually, you have fewer decisions as the game goes on after a certain point.
But anyway, what you want to do is you want to play simpler games that have less going on, to where you can learn just one thing, right? And make those your starting games.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about how, you know, we don't like Settlers. You know what? I loved Settlers for like 2 years of playing it.
When someone's brand new to board games, don't just be like, hey, this is the best one is Eclipse. It's like the same people do the same shit with anime. Like, hey, first
Gurren
anime,
Lagann.
Madoka, first anime you should watch ever. It's like, no, probably not, right? You got to watch something that teaches the fundamental parts before you go to hard mode. That's, no matter who it is on this earth, even an incredible genius person, right? If they do not have experience with a thing, they need to start an easy mode for the thing before hard mode
seriously,
for the thing.
We played Settlers of Catan for several years regularly, and toward the end of that time,
it teaches you trading and, you know, territory placement.
After several years of playing this game, we got to a point where we started to suspect that the game was random. In fact, we developed these weird positional heuristics where we realized that whoever got ahead first always lost because they got robbed all fucked. So everyone was shooting for second place to then try to have the stealth victory, to occlude the positional heuristic and hide the fact that they were actually ahead. Like, hoping people don't realize that I am 2 turns away from longest road,
yeah,
and largest army.
Better go for longest road and largest army so no one sees my victory points. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, I think we're done. So you know what? Take your turn.
Or I will hit you.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.